Hello, fellow flyers. Dan Johnson here. We are at EAA Airventure Oshkosh. Going to look at a lot of airplanes. First up there is the Aerotrek A240, their tricycle gear model. They also make a tail dragger model. There's Black Max. They supply a lot of key components to producers of airframes. So we've got a mixture of displays here in the ultralight area, known as the Fun Fly Zone. There is TL Aircraft. That's how they're known in this country. They're TL Ultralight over in the Czech Republic, where they make the Sting, Sirius, and Stream airplanes that TL Aircraft is marketing to the USA. In the ultralight area, the Fun Fly Zone, helicopters are also part of the mix, along with fixed wings. And here you see the Mosquito, that little yellow one there, is a Part 103 capable helicopter. And yes, you heard that correctly. Here's another one that is not a Part 103 ultralight by any means, but these aircraft do operate here, and they did so in a very interesting way, which I'll describe after they see this airplane. This is the Aeropract A33 Vixen. Their other two airplanes are out flying at the moment. And now we're back to another helicopter, the Safari. These guys take off and land in a field nearby, but not right on the grounds of EAA Airventure Oshkosh, so that's interesting. Then they fly over to where we're at now, the ultralight field, and do their flying, and they go back and land at the other place. That provided some more room for everybody. This big display with the red, white, and blue we're seeing here is the Sport Air USA display, and some of their aircraft were delayed by weather that preceded the show. It actually caused quite a bit of problems, although you wouldn't look at it today, wouldn't see it today because it's blue skies and nice conditions. Just past the one of many displays for powered paragliders, and here's Parachute with powered parachutes. Those two are similar, but not the same. Powered paragliders are generally lighter and even lower cost. There's the Gare Planes Mule, which is based on Canada's Merlin, and he's having a nice run of it down there in Arizona, where he's located. Also, from very far away is a South African model called the Bushcat, represented in the Midwest state of Wisconsin. And they've got a couple of models. When you see empty spaces, it's because, as the sign says, they're gone flying. These aircraft have gone out and are currently operating out on the ultralight runway. Some are not, like this one, which is a powered paraglider. I think that is. I'm not even sure because it's a new development and it's in development. But here's one I know very, very well. This is the Quicksilver, maybe the best-selling kit aircraft of all time, represented now masterfully, as always, by AirTech of Louisiana. And I say that this is the most popular kit planes. I know Vans has got more than 10,000 flying, but there's more than 15,000 Quicksilvers flying, so I still think it wins the day, even though Vans is obviously the biggest kit producer in the world. Here's the Blackhawk guys. They not only make powered paragliders that you run and take off with, but they also have these things they call quads, like that one right there, a handsome little rig that gives wheels for those that don't feel like they can use their legs for this. And powered paragliders, by the way, that's not a hangman's noose there. That's a training device to help people learn how to fly powered paragliders. But there's another one right there. And these aircraft are popular because they're very inexpensive and can be flown by Part 103. The pretty orange aircraft there is the ELA gyroplane from Spain, represented here in the United States as well, as you can tell. And more powered paragliders, this one from a company called Gravity. And finally, we've always got, in addition to a variety of aircraft, we've got different kinds of engines. There's the D motor display, and those guys are continuing to promote that engine from Belgium, it turns out. Here's the Evolution Trikes display with their Revolt right up front, the Rev X behind it, I believe, and then a Rev back there in the green configuration. Evolution Trikes, one of our most popular, arguably the most popular producer of weight shift control aircraft. Another one that's doing quite well is Just Aircraft and their Super Stol there in the green and silver look. And right next to it, one of our most popular and longest enduring companies, Kolb Aircraft. You saw a single-seater on the left and a two-seater was also on display, but it's the single-seaters where the action is, they say. More powered paragliders, again, different than a powered parachute. Maybe a little more sporty, a little less robustly built in the sense that they are just lighter because that's what they need to be. Aircam out flying as well, but they are down here in the ultralight area where we're still located, the Fun Fly Zone, because they can fly here and they can look good here. They also have displays at the other end of the field too for those that may not wander this far south on the grounds. Fisher Flying Products, home of affordable flying, it says, and indeed they are. They've got a number of Part 103 aircraft. Their aircraft are out flying too. And here is Airborne Weight Shift Control Trikes. They're having a good run as well, but we haven't seen them for some time. We have seen this guy, is an old friend of mine, Bruce Hawk, that back there in the green shirt with his hands on his hips, and he sells, well, as you might imagine from the sign on the trailer back there, wind socks, and if you couldn't tell from the product. Here's something really interesting we saw for the first time. Badland Aircraft from Las Vegas and their F-Series, a Part 103 legal aircraft. Another brand new one, uncrated just a few days ago, is this FX1 from Innov Aviation. The guy that just waved to you there behind the table is Dion Lombard, and he's sitting in front of his red and white Aeropilot L600 on display. More powered paragliders, this time from Paramotoring. And still more of them. I'm telling you, there's a lot of these, but there's a good reason for that, because you can actually get a fully ready-to-fly aircraft, all bits and pieces, for less than $10,000. Now, you're going to have to do some running, but it's available. And if you don't want to do some running, well, that's what those wheel setups are for. That's what the quads are for from the company called Blackhawk. We've got newies, we've got oldies. One of the oldies here is the Hyperlight aircraft. This is the side-by-side two-seater that company makes. They also have a single-seater as well. And coming up next, we see the CGS Hawk. Now this company is doing quite well, but they've kind of split into two forms, the single-seat aircraft and the two-seat aircraft, and two different people are producing them. They've got some action going on, and they're happy about that as well. Here's the SD planes. This is a kit now. It was going to be produced as an SLSA, but that didn't quite work out, but it's available as a kit, and there is a SD2 two-seater. There's Culver Props. We did an interview with a young gal that carves all those props. She's carved more than 1,000 props. Think about that. And does it mostly by hand and by eye. Amazing. There is Autogyro, the leader worldwide in gyroplanes. And no wonder, their aircraft are just beautiful. And here's another leader. This is the Aerolite 103 from You Fly It. Having a heck of a run. There's another one. In fact, that particular one you're looking at there was flown into Oshkosh by a 14-year-old guy, significantly supported by his father, also a pilot. His father's name is William. The son is named Henry Scott. That was Lazier you saw there. We haven't seen that for a while, and we're not going to see him again fully built, but we are going to see parts from the producer of that particular aircraft, and he's going to help keep those other aircraft in the air. I'm sorry, I just can't keep up with naming every single airplane that we see here, but there's a lot of beautiful ones. There's a Super Stol. You can kind of tell by its great big landing gear. And this must be a Highland here. Nope, this is another Super Stol. Can't always tell the difference because the Super Stol part of that aircraft is actually kind of an add-on to the basic airframe, which they've been producing for some time. Here's a great looking little Team Minimax. This is the fully enclosed one, and they had so many models of it, I can't remember the name of which model this is with the enclosure around it. Some of them just had a windscreen and an open cockpit. Now we've moved up by the Big Red Barn. This is the headquarters of the ultralight area, the Fun Fly Zone, and they've got, well, as you can see, they've got a lot of merchandise for sale. It's been run many years by Carla Larsch. It's got new leadership now because she decided to retire from aviation after many years of wonderful service. And they are changing things up and doing some interesting new stuff down here in the Ultralight Barn, where we're going to go inside and just have a look. For those of you that didn't get to Oshkosh, that's kind of the point of these videos. We'd love you to come to all these shows. And coming up next will be the Midwest LSA Expo. We'd really like you to come to that one near Mount Vernon, Tennessee, Mount Vernon, Illinois, about an hour east of St. Louis. But here's how the new Big Red Barn looks, and they are really into merchandising now. And that's good because a lot of people come to these shows to buy stuff, so they're going to make it easy on you. So there was a little inside tour of the Big Red Barn, which we're going to have another look at here. And I'll let you just watch this for a moment. You can not only get yourself a nice cup of coffee and maybe a donut, if you can resist, that is, inside the Big Red Barn. But you can also see postings for aircraft that are available for sale. And as you can see, lots of people looking around inside there. This is kind of the headquarters of the Fun Fly Zone, as I mentioned. But you can also come into the show at this location. Right back there, those windows in the background, where my wife volunteered, we'll sell you a ticket so you can get into the show right there. You don't even have to go down to the main entrance. It all counts the same way. But nice new look for the Big Red Barn. Let's go back out and look at airplanes now again. We're going to move down the reason why we're looking at that one there is the Rotec engines. These guys make a whole line of rotary engines. And now we're down in this area is a whole new area. It used to be we kind of called it the North 40. Now it's just the kit aircraft area. Coming up on a very gorgeous paint job there on a kit fox that either looks like a monarch butterfly or a ladybug. I guess you can pick your choice of which insect that looks like, but it was brilliantly done, as their aircraft often are. But you can kind of tell from some of the wood chips and other things that were used to offset the very moist conditions they had here. Another kit fox coming up. That's the STI, I think, with the bigger engine on it. And behind him, behind that aircraft is the kit fox display, but also coming up is Sonex. But this whole area is kind of new here now, and they've moved. All of these producers were to the north, a couple hundred yards, and now they're closer to the center of the action. There is the Sonex jet, and they now have a side-by-side two-place jet that they are offering. So, if you're into having your own jet and you got $100 and some thousand laying around, you can build yourself a jet. What do you know about that? Coming up, another very iconic look, done very well, is the Titan aircraft T-51 Mustang. It's not a full-size Mustang, of course, but it sure looks like a full-size Mustang and has some very impressive performance to it, but its trueness to reality is the impressive part. BD has a big display here as well. Matco wheels and brakes. We're kind of jumping all around the grounds here, so you're getting a look at a lot of different stuff. Vans Aircraft, of course, huge producer of kit airplanes. They got a sign out in front of their tent that you'll see that has more than 10,000 of these are flying now. You may be able to see the exact number coming up here in a moment. There it is. 10,524 aircraft. That's flying. That's not kits sold. They've sold well over 20,000 kits, making them the world's largest producer of light aircraft. And a moment ago, you saw a little yellow tail dragger that I've written about on my website. That's an RV5, which like no one has seen, hardly anyone has seen. But anyway, they're doing, Vans, of course, doing very, very well. And another company with a similar name, Rands, has their beautiful S-21 Outbound, now an all-metal, really handsome evolution of their aircraft over the years. They're doing a really good job. Bearhawk is another company that was attracting some attention, lots of attention, I should say. You can see people scanning a lot of these airplanes. We are not at the busiest time of day right now. That's good because we can actually get through. We're coming up on the Zenith display now, the company that in the light sport aircraft and sport pilot world, Zenith is the largest producer. You can see stats about that on buydanjohnson.com if you want to look into that a little further. Look for something called Tableau. There's a button right on the home page. It'll get you to see which of these companies is a big company. Is Zenith going to start making travel trailers? Well, one doesn't know, but that sure looked like one there. You'd have to ask them to know the exact information on that. I doubt it, but it could be that. Engines, engines, engines. A lot of people, pilots, I think, are about as interested in engines. Here's the whole Viking line. Their company having a lot of success and making a lot of noise in their own particular way by marketing very enthusiastically their Viking line of engines. They got a whole line, too. 90 to 130 horsepower and places in between. Just passed something there. I don't even know what that is, but here's the Corvair display. William Wynn produces engines from auto conversions. Here is the SPA Panther, and behind that was the Cougar, their new two-seater that they're coming out with. Another engine company, Aero Momentum, based on the Suzuki engines. Mark Kettering and his organization there. And they got an installation there on that particular RV aircraft. More rotary engines, Rotec rotary engines. Round engines, some people like to call them. And there's lots of, if you have airplanes and they're not a glider, you got to have an engine on it. So there's a lot of attention to engines, obviously, and all kinds of companies producing all kinds of products. These are not all either light sport or sport pilot. Coming up next is that very shiny, literally shiny, polished aluminum in bright sunshine. That's the Timber Tiger Ryan, followed immediately by another fascinating project that we're continuing to stay on top of. That's the Scale Birds with the Werner engine up front, that radial engine. Beautiful. And right next to them, yet more, UL Power, run by Robert Helm, the big tall guy you see there. Now, that's a Belgian engine. He's the U.S. representative for it, is what that was meant to be. Now we're looking at another bright, shiny airplane. That's the Savannah in this case, though. They make both kits and ready-to-fly airplanes, and they exhibit some real short-field takeoff and landing capabilities. Savannah from ICP. Here is the Flying Legend. The Flying Legend is the brand. Tucano is the airplane. I did a pilot report on that out at the Copper State Show. Really impressive. And there are the folks from Ariane Aircraft. They have two models now. Their LS, which is a light sport, and their XS, which is an experimental high-performance aircraft. Always looking good with their checkerboard underlayment. A company that made big announcement here this year is another South African company. This is Sling. They had a nice big display here right next to the area we've just been reviewing. They've got the Sling LS, the Sling 4, a four-seater. That's one right there, right in front of you now, and the Sling TSI, which is a 915, Rotax 915 powered aircraft. But they also announced their new high-wing model. No, not the one you're looking at now. They just had a model of it there so far. That's a Murphy you're looking at there, actually. And they're back on display here again, so that's good to see those folks from Canada. Duke Props, one of the most successful producers of props, and they're joined up with their friends Behringer, which makes wheels and brakes and more. They're both French companies, and they've learned to kind of market together, and they're both doing really, really well with some high-end products. So you can see a lot of this stuff. We are now, you can see the control tower in the background, the famous Oshkosh iconic control tower built a few years ago after they tore the old one down. But this area we're in now is, it's hard to describe exactly where it is, but it's north of what's called Boeing Square, which is the main place where all the big military airplanes and really heavy aircraft are shown on the most substantial ramp they've got. Alaska Bush Wheels. There are a lot of airplanes these days, and so they've got an example of that there. Now we're looking at, here's a brand new one for you. Texas Aircraft and their Colt made its debut here at EAA Airventure Oshkosh 2019. They're off and running, and right next to them, another Texas company. This is Jabiru. They've got the J230, and it's now in the D model, which is the most evolved version of this. You're going to hear more about this company because does that look like a four-seater? Well, it's not, but it is, but it's not. So anyway, we'll get back to that one later with some more information on a successive video. Tecnam, always looking sleek and wonderful with their beautiful airplanes. The one you just saw there was the P2008, and there is their new Astore model. Came out on the 65th anniversary of this company, which is now already a few years ago. They're coming on 70. Tecnam may be the largest of the light aircraft producers in the world, and their display kind of looks like it. But they don't make just light sport aircraft. They also make, here's their P2010. That's a certified, type certified version. And they also make a twin engine aircraft, which you can kind of see back there. It's a little hard to tell, but that blue and white aircraft has twin Rotax 912s on it. Now we're going by American Legend and their MOAC, Mother of All Cubs airplane that was a big hit down at Sun and Fun. Did a video about that you'll see at some point. Now we're going by the Bristol booth with their very interesting tents that they always bring themselves. This is one of the sleekest aircraft in the light space, a light sport aircraft, and they've got this available in tricycle gear, tail dragger gear, and they've got something new coming that I promised I wouldn't talk about yet. Coming up next now is a very popular low-wing light sport aircraft. Right back there are three examples of the Czech Sport aircraft Sport Cruiser. One of the market leaders, has been for a long time. And now we're coming up on Pipistrel from Slovenia and Italy. They have factories in both places and they make lots of these airplanes. This is Pipistrel, and they are the company that makes a lot of aircraft that look kind of like gliders, but that fits perfectly into the new world of electric aircraft. So coming up now is an Alpha Electro, which is their all-electric version, and they are selling these in some other countries where it's permitted. You want to talk about cool rigs. That one you just passed there is a personal project where the guy carries his Corvette, his Aerotrek A240 tricycle gear, and tows that behind his motorhome, living the life that you probably wished you could live. But anyway, he's enjoying it, and he's enjoying these very handsome aircraft supplied by Aerotrek in Indiana, run by a guy named Rob Rawlison, who's been representing this brand for a long time and having a nice run with it. One of the top 10 producers in the United States at this time. Here's Flight Design, and Flight Design got some real attention with that airplane right there that says Siemens on the side of it. That's an electric powered aircraft. Took its first flight very recently. They are still selling, of course, the CTLS that's very, very popular in the United States and around the world. And Chip Irwin is a fellow that you cannot hold this guy down. He's always developing something. And that aircraft we just went by there is the Zigolo, but it's an electric-powered Zigolo, but it's an electric-powered Zigolo that offers some ground control. More than I can describe right now. You'll have to wait for our video about it. Here's his little Merlin. This is a single-seater, but a very neat little airplane available for in the neighborhood of about $35,000. It's a kit, but it doesn't take too long to build it, just a couple of weeks. Here, the red, white one we're just passing with the red flags. That's the Magnus Fusion. I think I misspoke on that earlier. Here is the Skoda Aeronautica Super Patrol LS bi-wing seaplane. And now we're coming up to the giant Rotax display here where they've got a variety of aircraft. They're not their aircraft, but they all use their engines on them. And of course, Rotax has made a big announcement here at Airventure Oshkosh 2019 by saying that their newest engine, their most powerful engine, the 141 horsepower Rotax 915 IS, will be available this fall with able to use fixed pitch props. It's required some sort of in-flight adjustable prop prior to that. And the aircraft you just passed there, the Sea Ray, has been evaluating a control system called single lever control that will also be used with the 915. But all these aircraft are 915 powered, and that's the show we've got for you at EAA Airventure Oshkosh 2019. Learn more at buydanjohnson.com, and we'll see you soon at another air show.